Hey all you miraculous people out there, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din and I'm coming at you with another episode review of Miraculous Ladybug. This time it's Season three's Episode 7. Or is it 10? It's hard to tell in terms of episode placement with how this is all registered and how it all comes out. But it's either 7 or 10, and it's titled Oblivio, which actually sees a very interesting premise. Not so much in the fact that it's an original premise, as honestly, it's quite generic by most storytelling standards. However, this one is interesting in the context of the Miraculous Ladybug show, as its subject matter is about, of all things, amnesia. Now, let me start this off by saying I absolutely loathe amnesia storylines most of the time. I usually never care for it at all. But here, in this episode, I feel that it actually works in the end. Now, in the actual story proper, we open with Ladybug and Cat Noir awakening in an elevator shaft. Well, in an elevator specifically, and having no memory of who they are. And even when they ultimately transform back, they have no memory of who Tiki or Plag is, and neither does Tiki or Plag have any memory of who they are. So it keeps things vague from the very get-go. Right off, we have a mystery about what happened, and I think that's what goes to the benefit of this episode in terms of writing. Just that idea that you have no idea as to how any of this happened, how we got to this point, and you're interested in figuring out the mystery. And that's the benefit here. That's usually where amnesia stories work, where you're sorry, where you're along for the ride of the mystery. And as they go along, they start to kind of, question certain things. But Adrian, ever the optimist, is just like, okay, we should probably just figure things out. We'll probably understand over time. So that shows, despite the fact that they have no memories, their core personalities are still there. However, this moment of discovery is interrupted by a rump-thump-thumping at the top of the elevator, as if something is trying to get in. So they desperately try to escape, and, Plag and Tiki are just like, should we help? Should we assist them in any way? And then they soon discover that they can phase through solid objects, and they use this to their advantage and help get Marinette and Adrian out of the elevator as the top comes crashing in as something starts its approach. So the kids make a run for it, of course, naturally. However, once they make it to the bottom floor, they find that the exit is blocked by debris. And as the thing starts to get closer to them, they go into the bathroom to hide and maybe even try to figure things out, basically. With, Plag being attracted to the camembert Adrian keeps in his shirt, which I'm surprised more people don't smell that crap, like, seriously. But, because the Plag, transformed back, the miraculous timed out, ultimately he's still hungry and he needs that calorie intake. And, honestly, this whole situation really is fun because it's just like, we've longed so long to actually see Marinette and Adrian just be exposed to the fact that they are both miraculous holders, but ultimately we get it in the most inconvenient way possible. But we also see that Marinette has macaroons in her purse, which I don't know if it's just at the store that I work at, but macaroons are expensive. Like, I looked into that in terms of where I work, and they are really expensive. And last episode, they were just throwing them around left and right, and I'm just like, yo, that's a lot of money. I don't know if it's just because Marinette's parents own a bakery, a successful one at that, or what, but Jesus. So they get the Kwame all juiced up, but not that they know what actually happens. And they actually do something that is actually very practical and something you don't see that often. Is just they check their wallets and their ID and figure out their names, Marinette Dupang Chang and Adrian Agreste. However, when they actually go to check their phones, which is also a very smart move, the smart bit of writing here is also that they don't know the unlocking sequence for their phones. So very good writing on this front, but something that bugs me comes up later. But as the creature starts to get closer, and honestly, I love the air of mystery in not knowing what this Akuma is, this time around. But they end up hiding in a stall and make their way into the vents, and they have these moments here and there which are just lovey-dovey couple moments for the most part, and I actually enjoy them because it shows that even with no memory they still have these inner laden feelings towards each other that still continue to exist despite their situation. And as they make their way to the top of the office building, they find that there's no way out really. They're running low on battery power for their cell phones. They can't signal for help because the windows are tinted. All this stuff that just keeps piling up. But then Marinette takes Adrian's phone, breathes on it a bit to find out the path for the unlocking sequence. Now, let me make this very clear. This should never work in any form of media where someone just looks at the fact that maybe there's a fingerprint on specific buttons on a keypad or something like that. No, this should never work, especially for this phone and the way that Adrian unlocks it, because maybe it's just muscle memory, but this should never work in any situation because there's a multitude of ways that unlocking sequence could go, honestly. Maybe a little bit easier here, but even just seeing a trail of fingerprints, that wouldn't tell you anything. You'd see more than just those, that line, honestly, if it's a common day smartphone, because people use their phones for a multitude of things like the internet or searching various things. It's like maybe you'd have a few lines of past a fingerprint whatever going upward as you're scrolling through something, but no. But whatever, fictional world, all that, get your head out your ass. I'll just deal in my frustration. But Adrian tries to call his father, who's listed under Adrian Agreste, and what is up with these kids placing their parents under their full names? Yo, I would have mom and dad, not full name of my mother here. Just, it's weird, but whatever. Naturally, Mr. Agreste's phone goes straight to voicemail, not just because he's always busy, but because he's also the menace of Hawkmoth stalking his kids. So, that's the bit of irony there. And when Marinette gets through to her mother basically spills the whole beans about, Marinette and Adrian being on a school field trip to this specific office building, where an akumatized villain had shown up and, went on this rampage, and Ladybug and Cat Noir showed up to help out and, defeat it, and, she's like, hey, stay safe until they take down the monster, and, while Marinette at first is just like, okay, Mom, I get it, and she hangs up, she's just like, oh God, we're superheroes, that's a supervillain, we're supposed to be the ones taking care of it, but we have no idea how to do that. I love this realization. It's great. Meanwhile, we finally start to get a sense for the, akumatized creature, which is called Oblivio, who, erases memories, which, of course, it's pretty obvious at this point, but, it's just like, okay, now that they should have timed out by now, you should be able to obtain their Miraculous. Meanwhile, Marinette and Adrian are talking things over about how they're superheroes and the fact that, their parents apparently wouldn't know anything since her mom didn't know anything, so it's a closely guarded secret. But then they wonder about each other, and after checking their phones and seeing Marinette seeing her various pictures of Adrien, and Adrien seeing his various pictures of Ladybug, they figure they must have told each other's secrets. They must be, in a relationship, because why else would they be so attracted to each other and work so closely together? It's just like that common sense moment where it's just like, yeah, that would make a lot of sense now, wouldn't it? But series is gonna milk this situation for all it's worth, so now just moving on. Meanwhile, we see that Plague isn't so keen on helping people he doesn't know, and despite Tiki trying to get him on their side, he makes a break for it. Meanwhile, Oblivio finally makes it to the position of Adrien and Marinette, but, we see that Marinette can still use her intuitive vision even when she's not Ladybug. And she uses this in order to, use Adrien's phone in order to make their escape by distracting Oblivio. And when Oblivio follows them to the stairs, Tiki leads him, further downward, into another part of another floor. Meanwhile, Plague is kind of plagued by various billboards with Adrien on them, not remembering that Adrien is a famous model. So Plague has all these moments where he starts to feel guilty about leaving them behind. Meanwhile, Marinette tries to kind of decides that if they're famous superheroes, they should have a news report on their exploits. And so through watching it, they actually see that they had come to this building in order to fight off a supervillain, which again is actually smart goings on. Meanwhile, Hawkmoth has had enough of pussyfooting around the issue, and so he has Oblivio execute an ultimate plan to cause widespread memory loss across the whole of Paris. Meanwhile, we see a previous video of Oblivio fighting Ladybug and Cat Noir, and shows the exact moments when they lost their memories, although Ladybug wrote something on the elevator shaft wall before she lost her memories. Marinette remembers the drawing of a phone and a turtle and realizes that it was a signal to call Master Fu. And after they get in contact with Master Fu, who's just like, oh, you know each other's identities? Uh-oh. Well, the Miraculous Ladybugs will fix all of that, so whatever. Moving on. So just, thanks for that, Fu. Thanks for just solidifying the fact that this will have no bearing on future episodes. But he basically tells them, hey, how to activate your superpowers and all that, what you need to do in order to figure everything out, as we find out they have user manuals of all things, like WTF, what the hell, but okay, I'll buy it. They have user manuals, and he basically spills the beans of what they need to know before Marinette loses the last of her battery power. Meanwhile, Plague notices the massive ball of memory loss forming over the building he was just in, and they hear the declaration of Oblivio that he's going to threaten to cause widespread memory loss across the whole city unless they show up. So Marinette ends up transforming and looking through the manual, finding all the information she needs about how to activate her lucky charm, which ends up being a teapot, which naturally she has no idea how to use. But after some encouraging words from Adrien about her great intuition and understanding, Marinette also tells Adrien he can't come with her, because they don't want his secret identity being put out there. So he ends up staying behind after a little bit of a kiss on the cheek. And Marinette reads up on all the various abilities and what she needs to do to basically dispel the Akuma and, set everything back to normal. But when she shows up, Hawkmoth ultimately knows. It's just like, yeah, she's got her power back, but she doesn't have the memory and know-how on how to use it effectively. So luckily she still has her super agility, so she manages to dodge Oblivio for the most part. Meanwhile, Adrien, being determined to help out Ladybug despite his powerlessness, we actually see he has the same intuitive sight as well. So this is something new that we've never seen before as well. So again, this episode introduces a lot of things that never were brought up or never really considered before. So again, bravo. But Marinette ends up being tripped up because she still doesn't have the widespread agility, super senses, and reflexes that she has from, all the previous battles. So she ends up being tripped up. And as Oblivio comes in for the finishing blow, in comes Adrian trying to defend in this Mayship costume, only for them to both run away in the end because he really can't stand a chance. Although they're greeted by the arrival of Plague, and after Adrian, suits up as well, they do their best to go on the defense from Oblivio. And as Adrian reads up on his user's manual, he learns about his cataclysm. And, they start to formulate a plan going off of the fact that Oblivio has to use his right hand to activate the blaster on his left. So they go for that with Cat Noir distracting Oblivio, and Marinette, Ladybug using the teapot to cover Oblivio's, right hand, causing him to be unable to activate the memory loss blaster, and Cat Noir uses his cataclysm on the blaster where they figure out where the Akuma would be. So they de-akumatize the butterfly, and it turns out Oblivio was in fact Alia and Nino, which was a surprise to me. I never would have guessed that. I mean, I heard the two voices. You could hear Oblivio had like a male and a female voice, but I didn't connect the dots that was Alia and Nino of all people. And as, Ladybug goes to release the miraculous butterflies and set everything right, Cat Noir doesn't want to, completely lose all their memories, as they're not supposed to know who each other is. So they end up sharing one kiss, to solidify that they do care about each other in the end. Which is just like, it's everything you ever wanted, but in no way the way you wanted it. Just, oof, it's such a bittersweet moment. And I love the reaction from Alia and Nino. It is absolutely priceless as Alia snaps a picture for her ladybug. And as everything is set back to normal, the two have a bit of awkwardness as they wake up mid-kiss. But Alia and Nino explain that they were Oblivio and that, Ladybug and Cat Noir ultimately helped to free them from their akumatization. But we have the usual bickering and banter back and forth of, Cat Noir being like, oh, we make a great team even when we don't remember who each other is. So there's obviously some charm and greatness in us working together, with much to Ladybug's chagrin. But when Alia shows off the picture of the kiss, Cat Noir is tickled pink. I love his expression here. I love how happy he is about this, but Ladybug is mortified about this. And when they arrive at the bus for the field trip, as it turns out, Alia and Nino, were actually snuck off during the field trip to play a game that was considered very kiddie by a lot of their peers. And they were, felt embarrassed over the ridicule and wanted people to forget. Thus, they were akumatized. The usual spiel, but it's a very interesting way of going about things. Like, never would have guessed that. But, their real friends who know them are just like, yeah, I would love to play that game too. It looks pretty fun. So, don't never fear something childish as long as you enjoy it and it doesn't harm people. Other people can just screw off for the most part. But after seeing the picture of Cat Noir and Ladybug kissing on Alia's Ladybug, Marinette is still just shooken about the moment, feeling like, oh no, I would have preferred to share this moment with Adrian. And Tiki gives a knowing response saying there are things about Cat Noir she, might one day come to enjoy. Meanwhile, Adrian, while happy about the kiss, it's a very similar situation to like in Futurama where Fry, had no memory of how he managed to woo Leela to the point where she was about to marry him, Oh, Adrian has no memory of like how he managed to get Ladybug to go as far as to kiss him. So he's at a bit of a loss for the most part. But he ends up actually taking solace in the fact that Ladybug actually, he was actually able to woo Ladybug for the most part, and decides that if he was able to do it once, he should be able to do it again, thus ending our episode. And what an episode it was. Just so much to talk about here just because of the wide range of interesting moments and things that happened in this episode. you know but it was fun. I enjoyed it. And again, I don't normally like memory loss episodes, but this was a great one that showed the deep-seated love that Adrian and Marinette truly have, and makes me wonder if they could make it work. I know there's dangers in knowing each other's secrets, especially with the wide variety of powers that the akumatized monsters that Hawkmoth release actually have. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, come on, guys. Come on. But hey, tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about memory loss episodes? And how did you feel about this one? And if you liked this review, feel free to leave me a like. And if you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike. And tell me what you didn't like about this video in the comment section below, so I might better myself for future videos. But until then, how about subscribing? Because I'll definitely be bringing you more unforgettable episode reviews of Miraculous Ladybug. But until then, keep a little love in your heart. Bye-bye.